Hello, everyone. Welcome, Kyle here. And last night we discussed the potential Indian lineup for this first test with the India-England series. Tonight we're going to discuss the perhaps a likely 11 for the England team for this first test. But before I get into that, I must make mention with the news today of Australia now deciding not to tour South Africa for the Test series. They've pulled out of that. Well, the effects of the World Test Championship are huge, and there's one team that's already now through to the final, and you all know who that team is. That's why I got a big smile on my face. New Zealand, one of the first teams into the final, which will be played in England at Lord's later on in the year. So New Zealand are through to that final. Let's not hope that they have a super over this time, because last time they were at a final at Lord's, we all know what happened there. So no super over this time round if there happens to be a tie or a draw in the Test final. But there's three teams that could potentially join New Zealand in that final, and two of them playing the series starting in a few days' time. England, India, and Australia still have a chance. So this series is going to be very, very important for both sides. But the challenge is really huge for England. Look at the last time they toured India. They were routed 4-0 in that Test series. So it's a tough ask for them to take on this Indian team, which is on a high coming from their very successful tour of Australia. But England have just come from a very successful tour also of Sri Lanka, where they didn't have the same 11 for both teams. They mixed it up and rested some players, but they won that series very easily and comfortably over there in Sri Lanka. And what I must say isn't a stronger team in Sri Lanka as there has been in the past, but nonetheless, they still had the result of winning that series 2-0. If we take a look at that last lineup that England played in that last test, let's go through the starting 11 and let's try and match it up what will potentially be a starting 11 in this first test. We have Zach Crawley, Dom Sibley, Johnny Bairstow batted 3, but he's not available for these first two test matches in this series. He's having a rest. Joe Root, how good was he over in Sri Lanka? And a big double 100 in the first test, and he backed it up with a 160 in the second test. So he's a player in form that has just landed in the shores of India, and he is also the skipper, and one of those skippers that likes to lead from the front. And we also know there's one on the Indian side, Virat Kohli, who I mentioned last night, will have a point to prove in this Test series. So it's going to be a great matchup between Joe Root and Virat Kohli. Then we dropped down to Dan Lawrence played. Josh Butler was the keeper. He picked up some runs. Sam Curran, Don Best, Mark Wood, both fast in that series. Jack Leach and James Anderson. So in the Test series over in Sri Lanka, Stuart Broad played and James Anderson, they shared the role of being the fast bowler. So what England do have, they actually have classy players throughout their whole squad. They really do. They've got some real standout individuals. It's just a matter of getting the right combination. See, look at the list on there. You've got Ben Stokes, who wasn't in Sri Lanka. He returns to this series. Rory Burns, he returns to this squad as well, because he wasn't over in Sri Lanka because of the birth of his first child. And Jofra Archer, he returns to the squad as well. So those three players are normally in the starting 11. Well, they went in Sri Lanka. They're in the squad now for India. So one would think that those three players will find their way into the starting 11. So then who misses out from that last series? So as I just mentioned, England have this ability to play a number of combinations in the bowling group and all-rounder spot, and mixing up the fast bowlers and the spinners. Moeen Ali is there as well. He hasn't played in some time, but I think he may play this Test series as well, because traditionally the Chennai Test has favoured the spin bowlers, but there's a lot of talk at the moment that there could be a bit of grass on this wicket. But see, Moeen Ali solves the role of an all-rounder as well, doesn't he? So that's going to come into play, and he's a very, very good spin bowler, and I know he is eager to come and do the damage again on his return to international cricket. So we sort of just maybe perhaps look at a top three. I just mentioned before Johnny Bairstow, he's not there, he's not batting 3, so he actually played quite well over in Sri Lanka. So we can say Burns comes in, we've got Dom Sibley at the top. The openers were very poor in Sri Lanka. Let's be clear, Sibley and Crawley were very, very poor. They could not handle it over in Sri Lanka. And the task doesn't get any easier over in India. So we've got perhaps Crawley goes at 3, Sibley and Burns open. There's your top 3. Root, he bats 4. He's in magnificent form. Stokes, he comes back in. And what he brings is an all-rounding component as well. Josh Butler, he's got a play. There's a bit of talk about Vokes coming in, but I think Josh Butler, a little bit like Pant, he can literally take the game away from the opposition in a very short period of time. And he is a very classy individual. He has had a lot of success for the Rajasthan Royals in the IPL, and he is very accustomed to having success and playing well over in India. So he'll play. And then I think for the first test, England have to go full barrels with their fast bowlers, Broad, Anderson. They both have to play, but they may alternate them like they did in that Sri Lankan Test series. You also have Archer in there, who can play that Mark Wood role. So you got those 3 fast bowlers, and then it's a toss-up. It's a spin bowler who can possibly bowl in combination with Ali, with Dom Bess or Leach. So Leach and Bess did pick up a lot of wickets over in Sri Lanka, but it's going to be another challenge for them here down in Chennai up against India, which is a very, very good team. Very good team at playing spin bowling as well. And traditionally, English spinners have struggled bowling in India. So it's a tough ask, no matter what combination they go with. Perhaps another option for them is to perhaps play Wokes. You bring Wokes in, and he can try and lengthen that batting order somewhat. And perhaps you could drop out one of those fast bowlers like Broad or Anderson as you rotate one of them out if you wanted to try and lengthen that batting order. So I tell you what it is, there's a lot of headaches there for Joe Root and the coach Silverwood. The squad is magnificent. It's a lot of talent in that squad for England, but the right combination that they can go with, they got players in form in Joe Root and Stokes. He just always plays well. So for England to be successful over in India, they need their senior players to stand up big time. Like Joe Root stood up over in Sri Lanka, he needs to do that again here in India. You need Stokes to stand up. You want some of those fast bowlers to really stand up, and Anderson and into Broad. And these so-called lesser players who are out in great form at the moment, Zach Crawley and Dom Sibley, and Rory Burns hasn't played. These guys need to take a lot of responsibility on their shoulders as well. They cannot sit back and relax and watch and expect Joe Root and Ben Stokes to do the damage all the time with the bat and Josh Butler down the middle order. These younger guys, they need to stand up and lead from the front, just like some of these younger guys did for the Indian side over in Australia. Sometimes it's almost too much focus on the senior guys performing. If the senior guys just play consistent cricket like they normally do, and the younger guys can have performances like these younger guys did for India over in Australia, then you can have a good outcome for the team and have a lot of success. So a few headaches over the next couple of days for captain and coach of England about the right starting 11. But let's not forget, they've just come off a very good 2-0 series win over in Sri Lanka. India are coming off a historical series victory over in Australia. There's a place up for grabs to join New Zealand in the World Test Championship final up in Lords in England. So there's a lot at stake, and we all know the importance of the result in the first test and what's going to be a very long tour for both sides. So this first test is going to be vitally important for both sides. I'm really looking forward to a couple of matchups here, the Joe Root, Virat Kohli matchup, just to see how these two classy individuals set the tone in this first test for the rest of the series. I mentioned last night on the clip, I think Virat Kohli's in for a huge series. He's got a point to prove. Joe Root's in great form, and the elder statesmen in the bowling departments for both sides, Bumrah, the matchup against Jimmy Anderson and Broad, how all this is going to take place. No Jadeja after the series, which is really disappointing. And if Moeen Ali comes in, his return to international cricket is going to be fascinating also. So just like yesterday, tell you what, I really enjoyed the comments and the feedback from yesterday's clip around the India starting 11. Please fire those through again. in regards to this England starting 11. What are your thoughts? What do you think captain and coach of England will decide for the right starting 11 and trying to get the balance right for this 11 for what is going to be a very challenging series for this English side over in India?